It's good to be back with you after a long holiday weekend where we celebrated and remembered the work of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and many others who have fought and worked and bled and sometimes died for the cause of civil rights. It's a weekend in where we talked about on Sunday morning about dreams and Joseph, who was the original dreamer in the Bible. And we talked a lot yesterday, certainly around our country, about dreams, about having dreams, but also about what it means to work for those dreams to become a reality. To dream is to invite danger into your lives, or invite danger into our collective lives. To dream is dangerous because it is always a challenge to the powers that be, to those who want to maintain the status quo, to those who benefit and profit off of bias and ignorance and prejudice and hate. We need only to look at the 20th century to see what happened to dreamers in India like Mahatma Gandhi, in Egypt like Anwar Sadat, in the United States like Martin Luther King Jr., and others. I was reminded, though, of the words of Bobby Kennedy, this weekend when he said, "Some people see the world as it is and ask why. I dream and think of a world as it should be and wonder and think, why not?" Well, the story of Joseph is a story of one who dreams, of one whose dreams certainly rubbed his brothers the wrong way. And we talked quite a bit about jealousy in the sermon and how we combat that and how we fight against that, about how we focus on what is in front of us. And when we do that in our own lives, we don't have the time to look and be envious of our neighbors. The only reason we look in our neighbor's yard is to make sure they have enough. The only reason we look in our neighbor's bowl is to make sure there's plenty to eat. Otherwise, everything else comes from a place of envy and jealousy and darkness. And so my encouragement to you this week, as we wrap up Joseph and the story of his great dreams, the dreams that put him in a pit by his brothers who sold him into slavery, and he went to Potiphar, and his integrity got him into prison. But it was also that integrity and that vision that got him to the palace with Pharaoh. So it is from pit to Potiphar to prison and finally to palace that we hear the story of Joseph, because his dreams were not just for himself, his dreams were for everyone else. And because of his vision and his plan and following up on his dreams, we have the story of the salvation of the Egyptians, but also of his own family. Moving forward this week, we will be talking about chapter 4 of the story. This begins in Exodus chapter 1, and it begins with a Pharaoh who does not remember Joseph. It begins with a person and a people who do not remember the past, and they repeat it and they harm others. This is certainly a narrative of slavery that was in Egypt that has parallels in our own country, parallels that we cannot ignore, parallels that we have to take seriously. I've heard it said that those who don't know their history are destined to repeat it, and those who do know their history are destined to watch helplessly from the sidelines as it repeats itself. So I encourage you this week to dream, to continue that dream. Don't simply let Martin Luther King Jr. Day be a day that we post quotes on social media and then we don't change any of our behavior the other 364, or this year 365 days of the year. Because it begins with a dream. It begins with a dream and then to the hard work that is at hand of building God's kingdom. But even beyond that, there will always be people who forget, those who do not remember, those who seek ill will and harm to those who are trying to change the world for the better. But we have a promise from our God that our God sees us, our God hears us even in our distress and our crying out. Our God, our great I am, is with us. So may you be encouraged by that this week. May you be strengthened by that this week. And may we seek to dream, but also to do. I encourage you to let me know about any questions you might have about the story, chapter 1, 2, 3, or 4. Coming up this week, we've got a lot of great things happening at church. And in the coming weeks, we've got the Super Bowl of Caring, the Super Bowl party at our house, and a number of great activities. So I hope to see you there. Hope you can be a part of it. And as always, may we dream, may we do, but also may we know that the Lord holds us and the Lord walks with us. May God bless you this week.